Good evening. This is Danielle Nicholas coming to you from your Weather Center with your nightly report of weather, 7 minutes on the 7s. Tonight we are going to talk about surviving. With the big storm in the forecast, it is important to know how to prepare for a hurricane so you can survive. We are going to be discussing the novel written by Zora Neale Hurston called Their Eyes Were Watching God. In Chapter 18, it portrays the story of two people who fight to survive a hurricane. Chapter 18 starts out if it is just another normal day. Janie observes all the animals beginning to move east. Rumors spread about a hurricane and people begin to evacuate and move to higher ground. Janie and her husband Tea Cake decide to stay. When the storm gets more intense the next morning, they feel the only way to survive is to make it to safety. Floodwaters make it impossible to drive, so they have to battle the raging weather by foot and try to outrun the storm. The couple endures multiple obstacles but continue the fight to survive, and in the end they are successful in making it to safer grounds. There is a quote in the beginning of the chapter when Janie witnesses the animals leaving. Some rabbits scurried through the quarters going east. Some possums slunk by and the route was deafening. One or two at a time, then more. This occurred one day before the hurricane hit. This quote refers to animals using their natural instinct. Their instincts told them that something bad was coming, and they headed out. So is there truth that animals can sense a change in the weather? If they can, this can give you an advantage in order to prepare earlier for a storm and increase your chances of survival. Let's watch this clip and find out if animals really can predict when a storm is approaching.
From its raining cats and dogs, to the dog days of summer, to even a Cat 5 hurricane. Okay, that one's a bit of a stretch. We know our furry friends have a unique tie to weather, but can they predict it, as the myth claims?
Oh, absolutely. They can predict things.
Well, there you go. Mystery solved. But if they're not looking at satellites, radars, or the Weather Channel app, what makes them great forecasters?
Mostly their sense of smell. They also sense different changes in the pressure. I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
They can hear vibrations. Some of them react to smells of the rain coming.
They're also better at predicting certain types of storms.
Thunderstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes have all been reported that animals have shown strange behavior hours to days before the weather.
Strange.
There's also a poem about animals and their fight to survive. Fly high, bird, fly high, away from man's lead death. Your feathers scorched from bullets as you gasp your last breath. Run, fox, run, your freedom depends on your speed. As the hunters close in, they do not care how you bleed. Burrow, rabbit, burrow, dig as deep as you can. The small beady eyes and ferret's teeth you cannot hide from man. Swim, whale, swim, away from the sharp harpoon. No peace for you until the water is stained red instead of blue. They call it sport, but to an animal or bird trying to survive. This poem relates to the theme of survival because that's what the whole main idea is about. The animals are trying to survive, although it seems nearly helpless. In the chapter, the animals begin to leave prior to the storm, and this shows that they're willing to survive even though their chances are slim. Janie and Tea Cake try to outrun the storm while the animals try to outrun their hunters. The author also plays on your five senses to help show how the characters lived and what they felt throughout the chapter. The author states, Janie baked a big pan of beans and something she called sweet biscuits, and they all managed to be happy enough. Here Janie is cooking for the people who have chose to stay while they were sitting around the fire. This reminds me of camping, and I can taste the biscuits Janie made. This impacts the novel overall because the people around the fire are still happy and oblivious to the storm. They really have no idea what is coming. The author writes, another night of stew beef making dynamic subtleties with his drum and living sculptural grotesque in the dance. I can smell the stew that is being made. Personally, my dad makes stews and soups all the time, so that smell is very familiar to me. This impacts the novel because it shows that the people are still able to eat even when the storm is approaching. They are more worried about having a good meal than trying to escape the storm. Janie describes how she could hear the animals moving east at night. Janie heard the snort of big animals like deer, once the muted voice of a panther. I can just imagine this sound, as I'm sure everyone else can too. I mean, who hasn't visited the zoo? This impacts the novel overall because all the different animals are leaving and heading to higher ground in order to survive. To give the reader a better picture of the scene, the following quote was said. As soon as Tea Cake went out pushing wind in front of him, he saw the wind and water had given life to lots of things that folks think of as dead and given a death to so much that had been living things. This appeals to the sense of sight. I can picture the storm beginning and the water flooding in. Things that appear alive and well, such as plants, are dead and lifeless. Other objects that are not alive seem to have blown around and strewn across the yard. This impacts the novel overall because it is the final push to get Tea Cake to travel to higher ground. At last, the author talks about the feeling of touch. She states, "They had to fight to keep from being pushed the wrong way and to hold together. I can imagine it being a really windy day and trying to walk against it. Everyone has experienced this at some point. Although the average winds are nothing near the strength of hurricane winds, it can still help place the reader in the situation. This impacts the novel because it shows that it is going to be difficult for Tea Cake and Janie to survive the storm." The will to survive is a very strong emotion. There is a part in the book where the characters grow tired. They are weak and their bodies wanted to rest. The quote reads, "Janie was tired and limping. Tea Cake was much worse off, but they couldn't stop. Gaining the fill was something, but it was no guarantee." This shows the fight they had within themselves to want to stay alive. Even when they were struggling, they did not give up. You can compare this to a biography of a young girl, Bethany Hamilton. I will share with you an excerpt from her biography. At the age of 13, on October 31st, 2003, Bethany was attacked by a 14-foot tiger shark while surfing off Kauai's North Shore. The attack left Bethany with a severed left arm. After losing over 60% of her blood and making it through several surgeries without infection, Bethany was on her way to a full recovery with an unbelievably positive attitude. Lifeguards and doctors believe her strong water sense and faith in God helped her get through the traumatic ordeal. Miraculously, just 1 month after the attack, Bethany returned to the water to continue pursuing her goal to become a professional surfer. Bethany could have easily given up hope, but she strived just like the characters in the book and pushed through to survive. When you are put in a situation where your life is on the line, it is best to try to come up with a plan. Tea Cake showed this when he finally realized how bad the storm was becoming. The author states, "He decided to find a car and to take them out of the glades before worse things happened. He turned back to tell Janie about it so she could be ready to go. To increase the chances of survival, it is best to be prepared." So for our final clip, we go to Frankie McDonald from Nova Scotia. This video fits into the theme of survival because he is trying to spread awareness to the people. This would help people be able to prepare for the storm. In the novel, a man tries to warn Tea Cake and Janie about the powerful storm, with advice on how to survive it. Frankie is doing the same thing.
All kinds of streets will be flooded, transformers will be destroyed, telephone poles will be down, because the storm is going to be very powerful. People in New York City, be prepared. Stay indoors. Don't go outside. Because it's going to be a very powerful storm. And don't drive your car to the flood or your car could get stalled. Have your iPads charged, have your cell phones charged, have your iPods charged, and have your laptops charged as well. Because the storm is going to be very powerful to hit